Well, hello there, Kansas City, and if you're listening someplace else, hello to you too. This is another episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. We have a regular on the podcast, known around these parts as Big Charlie.
Hello,
we have
Charlie.
Todd Lebo wearing his Big Charlie sweatshirt, and we have a new addition. No, not Bobby Brown, but we have former Chiefs wide receiver Mark Boerichter, who's making his first appearance on Hot Mic with SSJ. Mark Boerichter, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Do you feel comfortable with curse words?
Oh, I'm very comfortable.
You wanna-
when I saw the first, what is this, episode 12?
I don't know. 12?
12?
Oh, boy.
See?
A
Okay.
dozen episodes.
I'm kind of pissed that Lecky was on here before me, but that's all right.
He
campaigned
Yeah, he
early.
he was here as a 9:30 guest, and I said, we're getting ready to record about Succession, and he goes, well, I haven't seen the latest season, but I'll be in here. So he was our foil.
Yeah.
Nick is
Gotcha.
going to come back
Because
he wants to be in with Jake, and I don't know if you want to be a part of that.
Oh, I do.
That is
I texted, I think, yes.
Oh, you
I
texted
texted you guys
everybody.
after
I'm in.
episode
Are you
1 when
sure?
Jake, yes.
But there's been other episodes.
Well,
Do
yes.
you still
Yes.
feel
Yeah,
comfortable with
I'm
that?
still comfortable with it,
Just
yes.
a quick preview. Jake has let me know, and hopefully it happens next week. He has let me know that one of the centerpieces of his next podcast appearance, he will inform us that the Titanic never sank. And so that's what
Or maybe it never existed. I don't know exactly.
he says. It existed and it did not sink.
They sank a dummy ship.
Already Ben's confused by that, right? Yeah, you want now. You'd like to watch that episode,
That's a
wouldn't you?
tease.
See, that's a tease, and so
Are you worried, Bo Richter, because you're a big part of the Chiefs alumni, that this may tarnish you in some way?
No.
Okay,
not,
good.
not
he's already been
whatsoever.
tarnished enough.
Yes.
right. And so, would you like to get your
And there's
first?
enough alumni out there that have tarnished themselves.
Would you-
too, so I'm not really worried about it.
Oh, you want to drop some names?
No,
out there? Okay.
I've tarnished myself, too, so it's not in some ways, that's not
Would
it's
you-
not a knock on anybody.
Would you like to get your first curse word out of the way, just to so you feel comfortable?
Oh, fuck off, Steve.
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go, see?
yeah.
That's like Logan. Fuck off.
That's exactly where we're going with this.
Did you? By the way, did you guys see that Brian Cox, who plays Logan Roy,
The McDonald's guy.
is now on Cameo?
Oh, you can get him to say
And
that
you
to
can, and he will if you pay. I think it's probably a pretty
good.
penny, but he will, as Logan Roy, tell you to fuck off.
Do you know anyone else on Cameo?
Me.
How could we get a
I'll
hold
tell
of you
you
on
to
Cameo?
fuck off if you get. I'm very reasonable on Cameo. I've done a total of 3 of them, and I think everyone's been very pleased.
Yeah.
With what I've been able to produce on Cameo. So go to Cameo, search for me, and I will literally say whatever you want me to say, including fuck off. But right now we're going to talk about, we talked a lot about the before the season finale of Succession, what we were expecting, who we were rooting for. Now season 3 is in the books, and I was thrilled with the finale. I was worried how it was going to wrap up, and I thought it was fantastic. And always, to me, the best shows, you think you have them figured out, but then they still can surprise you. They can still take an unexpected turn that will leave you with your jaw hitting the floor. To me, that's what happened in the season 3 finale of Succession. Because as we talked about last week, I talked about Tom Wamsgans, whatever you want me to call him. But Tom is someone that has just been a pathetic character over the first 3 seasons. And at first, I just couldn't stand him. But I do like the idea. He's a Midwestern guy who's kind of wormed his way into the situation where he marries Shiv, and he's right there on the cusp of being a part of this elite circle of the family. But he's also an outsider.
Yeah, total outsider.
And no one, it seems that they don't really like him. They just put up with him.
His own wife.
Shiv does, and so I've talked about it went to a point. At some point, I was irritated by him, but then this season, I really felt sorry for him.
Yes.
And I really
100%.
felt sorry for him when they were having the pillow talk, and we talked about this last week when she essentially said, you know, I don't even love you, and all these, but you could just tell that she was just basically telling him, I don't love you. And you could see his heart breaking. And then the next day when they were walking around town, he said, how real was that when you said all those things?
Talk.
But you could tell that was one of the points where there was no return because his heart had been broken. And he was starting to see. I mean, he's always been an afterthought to her.
And he's been a bit of a bully because he's been the guy who's an afterthought to them. And he's like, well, the only guy in the world I can bully is dumb Greg. And so he's done that too.
He has, but it's also been kind of a weird friendship where he's a mentor.
Because they're both outsiders.
Right.
Even though Greg is part of the family, he's not part of the family.
Right.
And he's tried to find his way in this in the Roy family.
You could probably find something in every other episode where Tom has kind of been fucked over. You know, you need to go in here and take the fall for all the shit that happened on the cruises, and they give him all the documents, and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to make Greg get his hands dirty." And then, you know, you have to give the bad news to the anchor. I don't want to do that. You have to this, you have to do that. And then the whole prenup thing. Oh, your mommy has to write the, you know, prenup, and she had questions, and then the stuff with, you know, threesomes and everything.
Go on.
He just couldn't ever get comfortable.
Well, you like to bring that up, don't you? You're fixated on the
just
threesome
one of the
aspect.
Well, you
things.
just feel sorry for him. Like, that's where I was even last season on stuff because, you know, we saw it in this episode too, and I know we'll get to this, but it's always, where do I fit in this, right, with him? It's always, where do I fit in? What about me?
And it's never an answer he wants to hear.
No, and it's always Shiv saying, oh, Tom, you know it'll be okay. Like, that's, it's that condescending tone that she has back to him on that. And then
she doesn't give a fuck.
No, right. And then he turns it, you know, he's able to turn it to Greg. And to your point of, it was interesting to me, like, he's going through this, like, I'm going to end up being the one going to jail. And then he spins it like, I'm going to pitch this as, I'll go to jail for you guys.
Yes.
Right.
Thinking he's probably going to get some help and be like, oh, no, you don't need to do that, Tom. Nobody's going to go to jail. And then he's, you know,
But boy, did he start to have some second thoughts
fucking
about that
sweating
jail
it
thing.
for a
right?
long time. Oh, yeah.
And so this is one of the things that I love about Succession. So there was foreshadowing to Tom, this turn that ended up in the final 25 minutes of Tom betraying Shiv, betraying the Roy children, and essentially selling them out to Logan to leapfrog the kids, to leapfrog Roman and Kendall and Shiv, and maybe now he's going to be the guy that takes over. We'll see, but he certainly elevated his standing in Waystar and his cozied up right to Logan Roy. But there was two moments earlier in the season. We talked about this one last week a little bit, but the point of the story of the season, I think it was season 4, when he tells the story to Greg about Nero and Sporus. And it seemed kind of out of place. And they were in Greg's office. And he said, Greg, what do you know about Nero and Sporus? And Greg responds that he wasn't familiar with that particular IP.
Yeah.
And so then he goes on and he says, well, Nero pushed his wife down the stairs. And then Sporus, he had Sporus castrated. And he married him instead. Sporus was a slave boy that he had his eyes on. And so then he looked
a lot of people out.
Right. But then he looked at Greg and said, I'd castrate you and marry you in a heartbeat. And Greg was like, oh, I would not like that. But now, and so then when they had that conversation, fast forward to the finale, and Shiv and Kendall and Roman are on the way to confront Logan. And they're going to talk about the supermajority they have because of the divorce settlement
And they're
with
a
their
team
mother.
for the first time
They've teamed
ever.
up, and they realize that they can team up and they can block the sale of Waystar that Logan is planning and oust him as you know the controlling piece of
Chairman or
Waystar,
whatever
the
it is,
chairman, whatever it is. And so on the way, she calls Tom. And we're watching this. I told Susan, why is she telling anyone?
Yeah, it's her
don't tell
husband.
anybody. Don't trust
But does
anyone.
he have a vote, though, because of the family side of things? with
No,
the whole
I don't
thing?
think so. I think-
that's where I was throwing.
I don't think so. I think she's just telling because she's trying to,
appease him,
you know,
or just she wants him
include him a little
So she
bit.
calls him and tells
they want
him
his support ultimately.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
so she calls him and tells him, and she's telling him what they're going to do, and he's listening to the plan, and then he says something to the effect of, well, where do I fit in here? And
What about
again,
me?
she's
Is there something for
dismissive.
me?
She's, oh, we'll figure something
High
out.
up?
We'll do
High
this
up?
or do that.
Yeah.
And basically he can tell, well, she doesn't give a fuck. There is no role for me here. And he's already having questions. Remember, he wanted to have a baby for the right reasons.
Oh, God.
Now she wants to have a baby because she thinks it's going to be good for her
Just
profile.
to get back at her mother.
Right.
Yes.
And so now you see him, and he hangs with them, and he's thinking, he's contemplating, and then Greg comes up, and Greg all of a sudden has turned into this playboy that's dating Comfrey, and now he doesn't like Comfrey, he's the
Duchess,
Contessa or whatever
the
else.
Grand Duchy of whatever the fuck.
And then you have this, and now when you go back and watch the scene again, this magical scene where Tom is basically asking him, "Do you want to do a deal with the devil?" And he goes, and Greg said, "What am I going to do with the soul?" He goes, "Boo souls."
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know if you guys picked this up. Tom calls him Sporus. Just Sporus. And if people are paying attention, and then you go back, essentially he's saying, "I'm going to push my wife down the stairs. And you're going to be my partner."
If you weren't paying attention, you're like, the deal with the devil is we're going to go overthrow Logan. That's what they want you to believe.
The devil is Logan.
Yes, but that's what they that's what they want you to believe in.
The devil
whole
is
like,
him. So, and that's one of the weird things when we watch shows and how we consume shows today. You know, I will probably at some point go back and rewatch this with a different eye because you're doing it. Totally. But when you're talking about something that happened a month and a half ago, if you don't binge like people do, if you're watching this every Sunday as we do, or Mondays, the Chiefs are playing late, then you may forget how that stuff goes. So you need to be reminded of it.
But I love the mind fuck there. And then I love the fact that you can go back like, that's what they were talking. I remember, even though it wasn't a good season, True Detective season 2, remember with Vince Vaughn and Colin Farrell and so there was a scene early in the season where Colin Farrell was talking to his dad, and his dad was telling him about a dream that he had, that he was being chased in the trees, and there's too many of them there, and he can't. And basically, he described word for word what happened to Colin Farrell several episodes later in the finale. And I told Jay, and it was like one of those, they foreshadowed this whole thing. This is the kind of thing that Succession did, and it was so smart and so interesting to go back and watch that. And then the other piece of foreshadowing that's been pointed out, you remember the scene where Tom and Kendall meet, I think outside that bar or something, and Kendall's trying to recruit Tom, and Tom's like, here's the deal. I've seen you get fucked over many times. I've never seen Logan get fucked. Right. And he's telling him, and Kendall thinks Tom's going to be on his side. And he goes, here's the bottom line. I've never seen Kendall get fucked over. I've seen you get fucked a whole bunch of times. So I'm going to, and he's basically telling him,
you're a loser.
You're going to get fucked over. Yeah. Logan's not.
Right. And when you look at this season too, right, it's all about Kendall going after Logan, right? The entire piece. And then, the episode before the finale, he's sinking in the pool at the end. I knew he wasn't going to be dead, right? Type of thing.
People thought he was for a while. I
was like, there's no way they're killing him off. And then as Shiv and Roman and him are having the talk, right, at the wedding reception, or Shiv pulls him away to talk, he just completely breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
It was fabulous.
Dealing with all that, right? And so then you see when they get in the van to go see Logan, before the twist kind of happens, right, on everything, you're like, okay, he's been trying to do this and unseat Logan this entire season alone, and now they're all kind of rallying together going, okay, we need to rally together. So you're like, to go back to the scene you're talking about outside the bar, you're thinking it all plays back into your hands and in your head when Shiv's on the phone with Tom. You're thinking, okay, she's calling him, and they ask her, is he in? And they're like, yeah. She's like, yeah, he's good with it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching Hot Mic with SSJ. Thank you for listening to Hot Mic with SSJ. Of course, subscribe and watch us on YouTube, and download the podcast wherever you download your favorite podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Hot Mic with SSJ is available everywhere. And I'd like to thank our good friend, the first sponsor of Hot Mic with SSJ, Patrick Carter from Farmers Insurance. Go to kcfarmersagent.com and click Contact Me, not me, but Patrick, to request a quote. You can also text Hot Mic, HOTMIC, to the number 913-248-8861. Choose a local agent that supports the same community you do. Don't choose Jake. Don't choose Flo. Choose to celebrate the holidays with Patrick Carter of Farmers Insurance.
Right? So it's like it's all coming back together.
He never said anything, right?
Yeah, and you're looking at it going, Kendall's going to win this whole thing because they're going to get everybody back together, which is what he was trying to get them to do. They've had multiple conversations about this.
Oh,
and then,
and then everything happens. Yeah.
But then they finally realize that they have to
Right.
join together to unseat their father.
And Logan knows he's won before they even walk in.
Right.
And like that's what they're sitting there saying, and he's like, I fucking win. I mean,
Right.
that's what he says. I don't lose. I win.
But
you guys, and he called them pedestrians and all this crap. It's like,
Tom
you guys
told
are
us that
just little babies.
several episodes ago, because I've never seen Logan get fucked over. I've seen you get fucked over a lot. And there it is right there.
You stick with a winner.
Right. And so before I lose this, the mother is one of the most unlikable characters. What a fucking bitch she is.
Hey, and in a pool of unlikable people, which this show is.
She's even more unlikable.
Yes, 100%.
And just, she doesn't give a shit that she sold out her kids.
And she's marrying
and all
some
she
guy
cares
with no
about
prenup, and
is
she's
this
just
playboy guy, And remember, the whole reason why she sold out her kids was to make him happy. Remember, he wanted to be get some lordship, and he wanted to have a flat and all this other stuff. And because remember when she's talking to the mom, and the mom says, "Well, what's the guy's name?" She goes,
I can't remember.
Well, he's very happy with it, and that's all she cared about.
Right. Yeah.
Herself and the fucking guy that she's marrying,
Don't care about the
and
kids.
she
I
just
mean,
totally sold out her kids.
Logan had custody of the kids. That was mentioned at some point during one of these things as well. So that's fairly rare for a guy who's
that talk between her and Shiv about,
terrible.
Man, that was
terrible. And so like she didn't even care enough to take her kids with her.
right.
No. Yeah, I go to America.
Just a heartless bitch is what I found her to be. But you need that.
Well, we've said this
to
a bunch
believe
talking
that
about
she
the
would sell
show.
her kids
Well,
out.
and-
On the pod
and
and off,
and
who is likable on this show?
I'll say it now, Tom.
But he's been very unlikable.
Right.
Yeah.
But
He's sympathetic at points because the way he's been treated, but he's not likable because he's an asshole to Greg.
but is he?
Yes,
But now Greg,
It's all power.
But then again, if you go back to that talk, there's that
well, that's
moment.
I'm talking about the 2
right,
years
but
before.
all led up, but in a weird kind of way, he's been a mentor to Greg, and he's leaned on Greg,
Yes.
and Greg's always been there for him, and always been ready to bail him
I'm
out.
just saying, when Tom Wamsgans is the nicest guy on the
Right.
show, it's a show full of assholes.
But I don't dispute
100%,
that. But the
100%.
evolution of that, there's a great article at the Ringer about the evolution of the relationship between Greg and Tom until finally you get Greg to agree, and you have sure I'll join up with you. Of all these,
Greg also asked him if he can get his own Greg.
yeah,
right,
You
right.
have
So can
20
I-
Gregs.
Yeah,
Right,
yes,
that's right.
yes. And he
Your
says
own
you can
you?
have 20.
Of course.
And
Yes.
now when you go back and watch it in the context that Tom is talking about a deal with the devil is Logan, and you didn't realize that
Right.
at the time, and so you didn't see that coming, right? They did a great job.
No, I didn't.
no.
And it was very, at the end, you still didn't quite know for like that 5 seconds, and then he walks in and he puts his hand on his shoulder like, oh, here you go. And then the bad part is, or I guess the fucking cold-blooded part is that Tom just goes in and says, "What's going on, guys?
But that's
How you doing?"
But that's what Shiv would always do to him.
I know.
He turned the tables because remember, right before you see Tom there, Shiv says,
Who the fuck did
who told us?
somebody told him we were coming.
And at that moment,
They
you
just
see,
clicked,
and it
yeah.
reminded me of the scene at the end. Remember of God when Diane Keaton
Yeah, she's looking in,
looks
and they
in
shut
and
the doors.
sees Al Pacino in
"Don't
The
ask about my
Godfather, right?
business, Kay."
Right, and but she sees and looks, and she sees Tom,
Yeah.
and she sees Logan kind of put him like well done.
She's like, "Fuck."
and it's like it was him. And instead of going, she just had to swallow it and deal with it the way Tom has all these years. And she understands she's been the one doing this to him, but she's fucking bitter. And boy, wait till season 4. But right, that was cold blood. He comes in there, and then he stands behind her and gives her a kiss.
How you doing?
On her head,
Oh.
and she's just looks like she's fucking gonna explode
And then it
with
fades
anger.
to black, and now you're fucking stuck.
Great.
You gotta wait till I don't know when.
But I want to go back to, you mentioned the scene with Kendall when they go and he has that talk with Roman and with Shiv, and he sits on the gravel and sits on the ground. I guess they did 7 or 8 or 9 takes of that scene. And then finally, he got criticized for his method acting and all the things that he does in that profile they wrote in the New Yorker. I'm gonna tell you what, that performance he delivered,
good.
It was terrific. That'll win him another Emmy. But him sitting there, I thought that was great acting. That he was so broken, and you could, and then finally,
they don't know how to react,
right? But
in real
Roman
anyone.
kicking and screaming almost is showing compassion. He doesn't even know how to do it. And he's almost recoiling at the idea of showing compassion to his brother, and he's to the point where he's joking about him killing a waiter.
Yeah.
You know, like, who's the
Where's
real
my
victim
gin and
here?
tonic?
I had to wait 2 hours for gin and tonic. Who's the real victim here, right? And Shiv shows some humanity there a little bit.
A little
'Cause
bit.
I thought that was a
not
great
like,
scene.
like real brothers and sisters.
It was a
humanity would
great
be.
scene because
as good as they could be.
It was a great scene for me because it really shows, I think, the dysfunction that they have as a family, that nobody can be compassionate toward each other, right?
Yeah.
They try to exhibit some sort of compassion. Like you said, Shiv just
Sort of,
demonstrated a
I'm
little bit of it.
so
to
foreign
pat
to
your
them.
head
Yes,
and
it's
say,
so foreign to
okay.
them that and so many webs of lies and different things have gone on that nobody trusts each other. And so at his basic, I mean, and Kendall's had a lot of low moments, right? In a lot of ways, but
Did a bad 2 days there.
yeah, well, you know, we can go back to the conversation that Logan's having with him, right? And throws the piece about killing the waiter out, right?
Right,
Like, you
because
killed somebody. Yes, and
he
I
was
covered
trying
it.
to
Giving you a
act
couple of bill.
Yes,
holier
he's-
than thou. Like,
Exactly.
no, you're just as bad as everyone else. I fucking saved you when you killed a fucking waiter.
Continually.
You know
right,
what I mean?
exactly. He's reminding him of all that. And then all that starts to weigh on him. But in that moment of weakness or truly breaking down at his lowest point where he was like, I'm not okay. He said that.
I'm fucked up, guys.
Yeah.
So and you almost get the feeling that Logan saved him from the waiter thing, not because it was his kid, but so he could have a chip for 2 years down the road. Of course,
Of course it is.
100%.
And also, what I thought was
100%.
really cool is you have that scene where we're talking about Kendall's sitting on the ground and Roman and Shiv are trying to console him. And then a few minutes later, it was Roman. Remember, this kind of sitting
This
on
is
the ground.
One time he tries to stand up to his dad,
Right.
and then they just fucking gut punch
But
him.
why would I do that? And he's like, love?
Yeah.
Love? And like, the one thing that this guy ain't gonna
Yeah.
fucking show you that he's not shown his kids
totally
love,
broke
and
Roman.
that's what you're gonna go with.
Yeah.
But he was broken.
It was the Hail Mary for
He
him.
was broken by it because he felt betrayed by Jerry. What was he more upset by? Being betrayed by his father or being betrayed by Jerry?
This all goes back to
That broke his
he
fucking
shouldn't
heart.
have sent the dick pic.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Because that's
or
how
should
they,
he have?
every one of them failed him in some way, and
Right.
his kids, and that's why he's like, I can't fucking trust these guys.
But he
with this.
loved
I'm
Jerry.
doing something else. Well, he just liked to jerk off,
Right,
or
but
whatever.
there was something. But
You want me to be a Debbie Downer? You always accuse me of
you
being
fucking
Debbie Downer.
always are anyway. So go
Bring it
ahead.
on. Here we
Big bald
go.
wet blanket.
I don't like this.
No, I want you to go back and watch the scene with them outside where they're what we just talked about with
Yeah.
Jeremy Strong and Kendall. Goes back and they had to shoot it like 7 times. Go back and watch the shadows. They're all fucked up. At one point, they're all in the shadows, and they're out of the shadows, and they're back in the shadows. I'm just saying, continuity
This is
a
the
thing.
fucking guy that will
It's a
break
real
down
thing.
a fucking. If there's a movie in medieval times, he'll go back and look. Oh, and one of the extras had a watch on.
Not that
I don't
guy.
fucking care.
I'm
I
just telling you because I want you. I rewatched
The
it.
eldest son.
Right.
The eldest son. That's what it is.
I'm the
the eldest son.
What a great scene that was. Because Connor's just sitting there, and Kendall's as the eldest son. And I'm the eldest son.
He's Fredo. I was passed
This
over. You're my
fucking
kid
guy.
brother, Mike.
And how about with him and Willa? And he's been trying to just fucking break her down to get him to
what the
get
fuck,
her to
why
marry.
not?
And she's like, "How fucking bad could it be?" And you're thinking, okay. And there was a moment. He hesitated. I'm thinking, say, you know what? Fuck you. I've got $1 billion, but she's looking at the limo that's picking him up. She goes, fuck it. How bad can it be? And you're thinking he's gonna, for once, show some common sense and say, you know what? Fuck you. And he goes, so you're saying yes? And that's like the best thing, they like totally. That was
He's
great.
always been the outcast.
They've
And the joke has always
all
been,
been-
he's always paid for his.
They've all been so broken their whole lives.
yeah.
Any little bit of anything, like and an old lady will let you jerk off in front of her. I love you.
But we
also
found out
will marry you.
He has a different mom. They kind of revealed
No,
that. So
correct,
then you
correct,
understand a little bit of the dynamic.
Right.
But also, he's such a dumbass. But it's kind of endearing. But then he's so full of himself
He
and
wants to be
talking
the
about
fucking president.
Right.
I mean, it's
Exactly
just
right.
delusional. Every single one of them is delusional. As I said before, I love the show, but there's no one fucking likable on it, except possibly Tom.
Do you like Tom now?
I like him more now than I did before, but I like him because he did something fucking awful, which
Right.
is what you have to do to be.
Then he
liked
finally
in this
grew
show.
a pair of balls. That's why you like him. He finally
And
grew
then
a
he
pair
took
of balls.
Greg's balls off so he can marry him.
See, because you've always liked Greg, and now I like this version of Greg.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch it now, knowing what the ending is, you see it was a really cool scene when he kind of agrees to be, his partner.
I want to
And
go back and watch that the Nero one, and then the part where did it happen after Tom came in and wrecked the office when he found out he wasn't going to jail, or was that before? I'm going to go back and watch the whole season probably, because I did go back and watch the last half of
It was before the Nero conversation.
we need to go back and watch
episode
all
4.
the Tom and Greg conversations.
Okay, so something else I really like about this show, and I didn't mention this in the last podcast, and I kicked myself like I'm Urban Meyer. But
What's up, Lambo? Make your
there
fucking
was
kicks,
there was
dipshit.
That's a
great is
scene.
that?
That's a scene from
Right.
Succession.
Right, and so I
Logan
love
Roy finally gets
Yes,
his.
that's right.
you know, early on you didn't get it, but once you understand the idea of the show and you watch enough of the show, there is so much to read into the when they play the theme and the opening sequence that they show every week, and they show of the 4 kids when they're young. And what's Logan always doing? You never see his head, right? But he's always walking away, distant, or he's always like, fuck you, just with his hands. They show that with his hands, and it always seems like they're standing there, dressed in their Sunday's best, hoping that they're going to get his attention,
approval.
Or they show Kendall as a little boy, in his tennis lessons, and he's standing like that, and his dad's not looking, or his dad's walking away. But then also you see this unbelievable mansion that they have, and they're riding on an elephant and all these, but you could see that you could read so much into that their entire childhood,
Absentee.
but it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
They're chasing the approval and the affection and their attention of their father, and except for fleeting moments, they can't fucking
Which
get
is
it.
why in season 2, Kendall tried to fuck him over. He was fucking him over for approval because he wanted to prove he was a killer.
Right.
He said, you're not a killer, son. And then he went and tried to be a killer. And there's the very last second of season 2, he's got
When
that
he
little
smirked.
smile like, this fucking guy finally tried to do something. And then it's neat. All right, I'm going to kill you. I mean, that's
Right.
because that's what he does.
Well, and in Logan's character too, there's a point where he's reading the book. Is that the beginning of this episode, or was that in the last episode? Where he's reading the book to Kendall's to his grandson,
That was
right?
because that was.
But he's
remember,
reading
we
the
didn't know
book,
what happened to Kendall yet.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so it was
And
the
you're
beginning
like,
of this last.
it's the beginning of this episode, and then all of a sudden he just like doesn't like the book, right? That he's
this a
reading,
little juvenile,
and then all of a
isn't
sudden he takes a call.
How
You know
old
what I
are you,
mean?
son?
Like he's never.
But still, that was more than I'd seen. Like he's actually being a grandfather to Iverson.
Yes. Of course,
Didn't he hit him with a
he
jar
hit him
of something?
A
like,
can of soup or something because they were they were
In one of
playing
the
the
episodes? Yeah.
telephone game or whatever you call it because he was fucking old and couldn't remember something. But yeah, and then he was like, he's trying to read his. He said, how old are you? This book is a little juvenile. Give me something with a little more something. He was send his 30-year-old. What do you call his assistant
She's
who he's
20
fucking to try to
something, according to
put
everybody
the
else,
seed
yeah.
in? I don't know, the macaroot.
So do you
give me a
believe
different
he's
book.
trying to impregnate his
Who knows?
assistant?
I mean, that was. Here's the deal. This family rarely has real conversations about anything. You should go ask, are you trying to have a kid? What's your deal with, Marcia, the ex-wife that got divorced, or she just shows up around and
Stop right
they
there.
don't ever talk.
I thought we were going to get more when they brought her back this year. I thought she was
Yeah.
going to be involved more. She had like one scene where she was
Shows
the
up
bad
as
guy. She didn't do
convenience.
nothing.
She's taking her money and she will be there for social affairs and show up to things, and that's what she'll do. It's because everything in this guy's life is a business arrangement because there is no love.
Right.
Okay.
There's he wants to have sex with his new assistant, and all of a sudden she's sitting in the meetings like she's making fucking decisions.
Right.
So he's got some blind spots in his life.
Okay, so a couple of questions to ask for you guys. What was the best moment of this season, in your opinion? There's several candidates. You could talk about the final moment when Tom is there at the
reveal.
doorway, the reveal, the dick pic from
That was the funny
That was the
Roman.
funniest. That was the funniest.
there's
The look on his face, like he heard
I don't
that
know, there's
ping over there, and he goes, "Oops."
There's a lot of scenes from Kendall's birthday party too.
Those were good,
Right, and how that ends a little bit with, you can just see how broken he is and how
pushed down by Roman. How can Roman push anyone?
That was
down?
hilarious.
that was
He's
funny.
fucking
though.
But- feet tall.
Because up until that point, God, did I hate Kendall this season? Just a fucking pompous ass that was so.
You liked sad season
No,
2
but
Kendall more.
He was just.
I did.
Yes, but he was so full of himself, and just he was an asshole, right?
right.
But there's a certain point in the birthday party where he's looking for the present that his kids left him.
Yeah.
And he can't find the present his kids left
right.
him. And then his ex-wife was there and she's gone. And all of a sudden, finally, it snaps. I wish I was home with my wife and kids on my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't have it. And you can see that panic set in, and it ends up manifesting in him looking for that I got to find my kid's present. I got to find my kid's present. And then I did that's when I started to feel really bad for him. Like, he fucking has all this money. He has a beautiful girlfriend.
They've all fucked this up
But he has all these fake fucking people that are there that don't give a shit about him.
The guy doesn't need presents. They brought him presents.
And so, like, but the point is, materialistically, what else could you possibly want, right?
Your family.
But it shows the one thing that he can't have
Is love.
is kids there on his birthday and being at home, and he didn't.
I was disappointed at the birthday that he didn't actually get up on the cross like he was planned. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, what the fuck?
He's crazy. I thought one of the best scenes. He's very good at actor, obviously, and whatever the method acting. However you get there, you get there. That scene when he was crying at the end was great. But I thought one of the more fun scenes was when Tom came in and tore that fucking office up.
Yes,
they couldn't have done 12 takes of that. Because how many shots you get to fucking rip the office up and put it all back together? I thought that was great. He's a very good actor. He's British, right? And so his accent's great. And I think when the release on any of these scenes, when someone has that release and like they let's go with the tears,
yes, yeah,
or you let go and tear the office up. That stuff's great. My favorite fuck off of the year was in this scene when Logan's sitting there and they're all sitting there and he goes, fuck off. I mean, he's sitting on the edge of the couch.
There's so many good fuck offs.
But that was a great one.
Right. And so, what was your favorite moment?
Well,
I'll
say one of my favorite moments, I think, which really wasn't all that dramatic, but when I knew something was coming, right, was, Logan and Roman go to Mattson's house, right? And Logan walks up and is like, basically like, I'm not going to fucking say shit about your house, right? Like when Roman, the trip looks exactly the same when Roman first went to see him. And they're sitting there talking and they're going through all the stuff. And Mattson's basically, asking him about, is this it, right? Or he says something to that effect. Like, is this it? Or are you happy with everything? And Logan's like, you can tell he's like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, Roman, you probably should give it back now.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh shit, something's happening here. Like the one guy you use, your own son,
to get
the relationship with Matsson, and you're acting like you don't want this, quote, merger at this point, take over, however you want to look at it. But I'm going to sit here and listen to this. But you're not going to be here for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're still here.
Thanks for the entree.
Yes.
And you go back and get on the boat.
That just totally
I'm about ready to fuck you all over.
And the fact that Roman didn't, they're asking him how to go. And he's like, oh, what, well. And then it all comes together.
He doesn't fucking know.
Well, it all comes together.
And they never tell their own brothers and sisters anything that actually happened.
So it all comes together, though, at the reception when they start, Shiv gives the condescending speech. I say condescending, but
awful speech. The cringeworthy speech.
The cringeworthy speech where it's literally telling her mom, like, you are a fucking conniving bitch, right? Type of thing. But
I was like, well done, because she is.
And then when it all comes together, all the rumors start flying, and then they're like, to Roman, well, what'd you know about this? He's like, well, I don't. He didn't want to admit that he
got kicked out of
the fucking letter she wrote about Kendall earlier in the season. Just fucking, ripping him apart.
Put that out the press.
I thought a great.
You could make a montage of Kendall awful moments.
Here's the other thing, though. You can go back to this too. Now we haven't talked about this scene, but I don't remember what episode it was. But Shiv comes in and tells Tom to tell an anchor to spin something or not do it. And he's like, well, that's not how it works, right? You go back now and think about that scene. It's starting to build for him there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's starting.
I'm not your errand boy.
It's starting to be like, no, I'm running this. You can. The confidence is starting to come from him as opposed to all that.
I can't remember the fucking character's name now, but maybe it was Josh. But the character Adrian Brody played. Mm-hmm. Remember when he wants Kendall and Logan to show up on his island or whatever
to the place because they're separate planes.
The awkwardness of those two guys, just the silence and everything.
I love Adrian Brody anyway. I think he's a terrific actor. And what I thought was just a great scene was when they're trying to keep up with him. And a couple of times, hey, you want me to come? There's kind of hilly here. Mm-hmm. You want me to come? We'll get you a ride back. And Logan's just so proud and so, no, I'm fine. Fuck it. I'm going to just keep walking. And he's might get ready to fucking die. He was real sick. And even Kendall at some point starts to.
Kendall's like, oh, I hate this guy.
He is so fucking obsessed with not showing any weakness.
Right.
Not showing any weakness whatsoever, that it's almost like he's willing to fucking die right there, as opposed to ask for some water, ask for some help, ask for a ride, or say, hey, could you just slow down for a minute? that has got to be fucking exhausting for someone that is just so obsessed and unwilling to show the slight weakness that you're almost want to let yourself fucking die right there just because you're so stubborn.
Once again, he's an awful person.
Right, but I thought that was a great scene.
Oh, it was great,
and I love the way Adrian Brody played it, and he's like,
he was testing him, and then
he was
and
great.
Neither one of them, because they're trying to get his money.
I wanted him to come back in the season
show.
finale, then they were done with him.
Maybe
I thought that was awesome.
Well, then the foreshadowing of everything too throughout the season. So him almost like, to your point, looking, I'm willing to die for whatever. Mattson at the birthday party, I think he was at the birthday party, right? Roman finally finds him sitting on the chair playing video games, and he's like, "All right, let's hash this out." And it's like, "So how long is your dad?" And you're like, "Is your dad dead yet?"
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Are you? Everything was leading up to now. When you go back and watch it, everything was leading up to the final scene, but where those three were literally going to kill their dad.
Yeah, that was what we were ready to do.
And so for my money, the best moment was clearly the look on Roman's face when he realized that he had sent the dick pic to his dad.
Oh,
he's like looking, he's like, ah.
He couldn't get under that table.
Oh,
It
it was
like,
fantastic.
I
you
want
know?
And then there was the
disappear.
awkwardness afterwards, where
And then he walks out.
yeah.
he just looks down at, and it's like, oh boy, what's coming?
But I thought it was that scene, and you talked about this in the last episode of Hot Mike, when Logan, for once, he's actually trying to figure his son out. Like,
What the fuck is
why
wrong
do you
with
do
you?
this? What do you do that? He's trying to figure what's
And
and he has
Logan
no good answer
will go
for him.
fuck his assistant,
Right.
But he doesn't get the dick. I mean, it's kind of like old tech, new tech. He doesn't get it. I'm gonna go bang my secretary, but I ain't
Right.
sending a dick pic.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm a newspaper, not a social media feed.
And it was also a time too where we all know that Logan's in all this, right? He never loses, right? Type of thing. But you started to see that he was starting to gain more confidence in Roman because of the Mattson deal, things like that. And then when he's asking, like, why do you do this? It's also like he found the real piece of weakness in Roman also. Like, he's going to
can't trust you with
I
this.
can't
You're
trust any of
fucking
this shit.
sending dick
Yes.
pics.
How fucking fast did Shiv get in there to take advantage of that to exploit
1
that?
second.
And you think, just for a fleeting moment, you think maybe she's going to go in there and defend Roman.
Compassion?
But
Right.
she went in there just to fucking help you. Let me get a shovel. Let me bury this motherfucker.
I got a
Okay?
question.
What?
Okay, so we're in the world of prequels. I don't think this is possible to do because you can't find enough children actors who are this good.
I'd love it.
But a youth.
Because I love the intro.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
you see so
How
much
good
of
would
that.
that be?
And it shows how they were treated like shit.
It'll come.
You know?
It'll come.
So
Probably shouldn't have put that out publicly right now. You should be pitching that.
the other question I have for you.
I'll write it.
Because they're all going to be nominated for Emmys, and the show's going to be nominated. They're going to get a lot of awards for the season. If you could only give an Emmy to one actor for their performance in season 3, who would it be?
It would be Kendall. I mean, he's so good at being broken. So
Give me your top 3 as far as not the character, but the actor, their performance in this season of Succession.
well, you mentioned one of the scenes when he's scrounging for the gifts. That was great.
So you say Kendall 1.
Kendall won, and then like obviously
Strong.
the end where he finally breaks down and it tells his siblings that he killed a guy, which he didn't really kill the guy. I'm with Roman on this. He kinda
But
killed
it's
himself.
almost like
got the
he
deal.
wants to be guilty. He wants to
Yeah,
feel
well,
guilty.
I mean,
about
you're
that,
kind of
you
a
know?
martyr on this. Like, I want to be
There.
this guy. So I think those two scenes, and in particular, and then kind of when he was running around being such a fucking jackass at the apartment, in his ex-wife's apartment,
Right.
trying to pitch these people and not listening to him. I thought that was great, big blustery Kendall. Because we see a lot of broken Kendall. But I thought that was big, like, trying to be hip and cool.
quite
like, doesn't understand
quite a
that,
range, yeah.
that they're really fucking making fun of him on these web shows. He thinks he's in on the joke. No, they fucking hate you.
Yeah, he's a
So I think
He's
He was
a-
1, and he was number 2.
well, Logan, he's just such a fucking prick.
And
And
Logan,
I'll put Tom there too.
but Logan also, that scene when he's on the island, and you think I thought that was great. He's having trouble walking. You think he's gonna fucking keel over, and then also when he got delirious and he thought there was a fucking dead cat under his fucking chair.
Oh,
you know,
dude, I forgot all about that.
I mean, he was wild. It was like I thought
Yes.
he was
Forgot
great.
about that
Okay,
part,
and then who's number 3? Tom.
Tom, we got to put Tom in the top 3 because he hit the game-winning basket at the end.
Same question for you. As far as actors' performances in their role
in
this
the
season,
performances, and I think Tom's in there. I do, but I
You're
don't,
going dick pics. I know you are.
No, I do love what Roman brings to the table.
He makes me
and his
laugh 2 or
performance.
3 times
Yes,
every
and,
episode.
and it's like we talked about this outside of this, that he makes he makes this show with his one-liners, and it's almost like he's ad-libbing half the shit that's going on, right? Like, to me, because you know something's coming, but then it just carries on, and it just keeps going. I like Roman in there. I do like, Kendall is a part of that, too. To go back to the beach scene when they're, you're talking about them walking through everything. But it's like they're playing this cat and mouse game, right? Like getting on the helicopters, right? No, he's going on that one. I'm taking this one.
Right.
It's just fucking embarrassing.
And he's like, we're going to land first. And he's like, where the fuck's his car? And like, we don't need calls. He's like, well, fuck you. I got the upper hand. And then they get there and Adrian Brody's character makes them stand there, right? In the living room. And there's this awkward silence the whole time. Then they go out and have their little dinner or whatever.
Awkward meal
out there.
And they wasted all that delicious lobster. That was so pissed off. They had a wonderful
But they're sitting
meal.
there and he tells, Logan's telling him, and he's like, he's a good kid, talking about, it's like they're repairing their relationship. So I think those two, to me, are at the top of the list.
Great,
yeah, together.
For me, I got to go Kendall. Roman makes me laugh. He's kind of the straw that stirs the drink, but he hasn't shown enough range because he's always the same, but he's hilarious until the end when he was heartbroken. Love. And so I would have to say Jeremy Strong as Kendall, Brian Cox as Logan will be number 2. But man, I go back and forth thinking about who was better, Tom Wamsgans or Shiv. Sarah Snook as Shiv.
Their scenes together are
and
great,
Tom
too.
is English in real life. The actor who plays Tom is English, and she's Australian.
Crikey.
And I think she's terrific. But I think, like you said, the buzzer beater, the game-winning shot at the end, thrusts Tom into the number 3
The show
spot.
is very well acted. It's very well written,
Tremendously done.
And I have a lot of friends who like the show, but they want to like somebody. So it's hard to watch the show because you don't like anyone. I couldn't watch all of my shows where you don't like anyone. That would be too much. But this is my one show I can watch where you don't like anybody. Because if you lived your whole life watching shows where you don't have someone to fucking root for, that would be rough.
So going into next
But you
season,
can still root for somebody.
right? Going into next season, who are you rooting for? What would you like to see happen in season 4?
Well, let's get Tom a long-term contract. Let's go. He hit the buzzer beater.
Do you want Tom to take over?
At this point, I want Tom to get himself, as Greg put it, where do I fit in on this, right? Near the top, like the top of the bottom. You're the bottom of the top. That's what he said. You're the bottom of the top.
Yeah.
I think Tom's going to get himself. I don't think Tom's necessarily at the bottom of the top yet.
Let's get Greg 20 Gregs. That would be great. How would he handle all the Gregs to order around?
He'd send him after fucking Greenpeace. That's what he'd do.
Yeah, I hope they continue this with Tom, and he at least is in power or he's right under Logan, at least for a couple of episodes.
Well, it won't last because
right.
No,
I want to see the dynamic of the kids teaming up. I want Connor to run for president. I don't know why. I think that's funny. I enjoy that part of his storyline. And I hope that Tom and Greg, I hope they do pit Tom and Greg versus the 3 kids and to see how that pans out. Okay, and so that's our review, and we all give it a tremendous double thumbs up.
That was
right?
fantastic.
It's a great finale.
Any other comments before we move on to our final topic I wanted to throw in there?
I'm good.
Okay. Since we had our last podcast, I was treated with the news that my favorite living performer, Jack White, will be coming back to Kansas City for a concert at Starlight on August 29th. And I love Jack White. The first time I saw him was when he was with the White Stripes. Was it 2005 then? Lebo,
It was
you were there.
August 23rd, 2005. I found that picture
At Starlight.
Was this a Jake buying the vinyl album?
No, so then I saw him
previous to
right,
that, right? Okay.
And then at the Midland,
Gotcha.
I saw him, and
Jake
that's
didn't
when
come
Jake.
to this, so we always tease Jake. He didn't come to this show. I think someone had a ticket for him. He didn't.
Do you
come.
know why? Davey B did. You know what Jake said? Why he didn't go? I'll see them the next time they come to town. And then the White Stripes broke up, and there was no next time. He went with me. I think it was 2013. I can't remember these.
That was bad,
fucking days,
Jake.
Whatever. We went
that was
to the
in the
Midland.
hashtag Find Jake era.
And I
Yes,
say
yes.
Jack White at the Midland is still one of the greatest, maybe the greatest concert I've ever seen live. It was just the energy; it was tremendous. And Jake passed out for half the concert, and then
Bought an album. Couldn't find
Bought
the
an album that he didn't remember about. For some reason, bought a fucking album of all the things you can buy.
A true album.
Yeah,
A
bought
true
an
album.
album.
Yes.
He's like, what? I go, do you have something to play? He goes, Not yet. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Or
Buy a
anywhere to
t-shirt,
put
buy a
it.
hat.
Anywhere to put it tonight while you watch the show.
So I'm with me and Richie and Phil and Jake, and the Midland set up to where the whole floor of it was standing room only, but we had seats. There were like 4 or 5 rows of seats, and the concert starts, and it's just fucking melting your face. The curtain goes down, and immediately Jack White just goes into Fell in Love with a Girl, right? One of the great hits from the White Stripes, and just fucking kills it. And I'm not paying attention to nothing. I've got one of my sons on one side, one of my sons on the other.
They're youngish at this point. You really kind of got to watch them.
We're dancing, we're having fun, and then at one point I look over at Jake, and he's sitting in this chair, and he's holding that fucking album, but he's like this. Fucking an hour and a half of the fucking loudest, most incredible fucking rock concert you've ever been to. He is out like a fucking light, but he's holding on to that fucking album, right?
I got it.
And so then Phil, and for people that don't know, Phil's original godfather passed away, and so we named Jake his godfather, right? Mm-hmm. They have a very good relationship. And so Phil's showing some concern. He's looking down. He goes, Is he okay? I said, he'll bounce back. He always does. He'll bounce back. At some point, he's going to, we won't need to.
Phil at this point is probably 10.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah.
And so, I said, no, he'll bounce back. Because I've seen it, at some point. I didn't think it would be in show. I thought it would be afterwards. But I'm going to tell you this. So Jack White comes back out for a fucking encore. And I don't know what happened. I didn't touch him. I didn't touch Jake. No one told us to say it's the encore. All of a sudden, something about Jack White coming back out for the fucking encore. And he fucking gets into it, and he lived it up during the encore, danced and sang. And
did he say, "Why is it over after 3 songs"?
Kind of. He was super fucking confused because I think
he got 12 minutes.
I haven't confirmed. I think he thought the encore was the beginning of the concert. Which was
what happened?
Fucking fantastic to be a part of. But then when he came back to what's Sandstone now? What is it?
Sandstone. We'll call it Sandstone forever.
So then Jake did see Jack White with us.
That was
there.
about 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Right, and so we were able to see that. But so now he's coming back August 29th at Starlight. I can't fucking wait. I've got my tickets. I'm taking Susan and the boys. You're going to fucking go.
I'm going to get away. I'm going to find my way in.
So just to throw it out there, I think that if it's not Guns N' Roses at Arrowhead, then it's Jack White or Billy Joel at Kemper Arena is the best show I've ever seen. I'd like each of you to tell me the best concert you've ever seen live.
One of my... Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be so fucking hard for you.
The White Stripes was in the front row in 05 at Sandstone or at Starlight.
Quit fucking bragging about that.
Motherfucking
We get it.
Hey, the frontest of the fucking front rows, and it was the coolest thing I ever saw in my life because you get to watch him play guitar.
I don't have AAA, but I got A, so I'm in a fucking front row of orchestra level, so I'm fucking ready to go.
I will give you a story because this goes together with someone passing out at a show. In college, 1992, spring of 92, finals week.
At Oklahoma.
Yeah. I'm in Norman, Oklahoma, and then in this place in Dallas, which is called, it's gone now, it was called the Bronco Bowl. It was a huge bowling alley that had like a 2,000 seat arena set with it, which apparently fun. Lamar Hunt built in the 50s. I don't know.
With his hands, or they
built
had
it with his own hands.
Wow, that's
so
weird.
We go down, and this was 1992, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and Monster Magnet and Swerve Driver. 4 bands, $12 at this fucking bowling alley arena.
Damn.
So we go down there, and it was midweek. I had a final the next morning, so this wasn't great for my final. But we drive down there, and there's 4 of us in my buddy's car, and the guy who loved I wanted to see Soundgarden. This was right after Bad Motorfinger came out. 10 was out for Pearl Jam, and I really want to see Soundgarden most. This friend of mine, Patrick, in college, he wanted to see Pearl Jam. He fucking loved Pearl Jam. He loved Pearl Jam. He wanted to see Pearl Jam. Well, this motherfucker gets sick on the way down. Like not drunk sick, like he's got a bug sick or something. So we get in there, and we get there for the end of Monster Magnet, which is this weird kind of fucking music or whatever. And we're sitting up there, and we had seats. There was a little bit of a bowl and a little bit of an arena, which the people jumped through, and they just fucking moshed the whole time. So we're sitting in the seats. I look over. Pearl Jam's playing. This motherfucker's just like Jake. He got his fucking head between his legs, sick as a fucking dog. He's got some sort of bug or flu, and we're just like, We could look at
And he missed Pearl Jam at their peak.
1992 Pearl Jam.
Oh, fuck.
It's just so fucking sad. But it was really cool to see them at that point. And that's why seeing White Stripes in 2005 wasn't the beginning, but that was probably the peak White Stripeness of it, right? That was a couple years after Seven Nation Army, whatever the record is right for.
And that's why Jack White was so good to me at the Midland, because he played all the White Stripes, but then all of his good stuff, and he just come out with Lazaretto.
So that was that, and the first time I saw Metallica, I'd never heard of him in my life.
I can't remember what fucking year it was.
I saw Metallica open for Ozzy Osbourne in 1986. I never heard one note of any song they ever played. And Cliff Burton was still alive. It was a Master of Puppets tour.
Loved it.
They were opener, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's fucking awesome. So there you go.
It's like I saw out of Sandstone. I saw when I fell in love with Guns N' Roses in '88 when they were opening up for Aerosmith, and I went there to see Guns N' Roses because Welcome to the Jungle was already becoming a hit, and they fucking, I'm talking 1988 Guns N' Roses fucking melted the stage. And then Aerosmith came out and like hey, Janie's got a gun. I don't fucking know. But like, right?
Before Bo Richter goes, honorable mention.
We got to get his
before he goes on
why
this.
Why don't you let him fucking
not
talk?
leaves. Honorable mention, when we drove our ass back from KCI to watch Kid Rock at Verizon in like the third row and you lost your hat. And Joe C was still alive, and Uncle Cracker. This was the whole thing.
We were flying back
from River Falls. You were probably at training camp,
and we were trying to figure everything out. And we got there.
2000.
And this son of a bitch drove. We can say it now. This son of a bitch drove 90, 100 miles an hour to get there.
Drove fast to get there.
We got there, and people were texting me. We only missed like 1 or 2 or 3 songs or whatever. And you're right. We got Uncle Cracker was on stage. Joe C was there. Kid Rock, which also tells me the other story that I almost missed. The first time I saw Kid Rock at Memorial Hall, it would have been 99 or 2000.
Shoulder, break your ankle. Which break?
Fuck you. So it was me, my former producer Pat Schultz, Scott Traylor, one of the Racing Boys.
Yeah.
So we're there.
That was Memorial.
It was Memorial Hall.
KCK.
Power Man 5000 opened up, and it's Kid Rock. First time I've ever seen Kid Rock, and this is when Ball with the Ball was a hit, right? Yep. But it wasn't a big enough hit to where he was still Memorial Hall, right? Yeah. So I go to the bathroom because he's getting ready to come out, and it'd been forever. I go out, but then I'm starting to come back, and you hear the opening. You hear Ball with the Ball. I said, motherfucker, and I start running. And if you know about Memorial Hall, they have that ramp that goes down and it goes up. And I'm running, and I had some lugs on. Because back in the day, you wear some lugs looking good, I think. Not really. And
not Tim's, but lugs.
A bunch of beer had spilled. And I hit one foot on that ramp. And I, like a cartoon, my ass went up in the air. Woo! And I came down all of my wrist, and I broke my fucking wrist, right? And I get up there, and I am in so much pain. But goddamn it, Kid Rock's out there. And I went out there. I guess my wrist got that bad. Pat's got, you guys, I ain't fucking going anywhere. And I'll never forget, it was one of the first times I went on a sales call with Chad Boger at the Applebee's in Blue Ridge Mall the next day.
We're dating this.
And I didn't have a chance to go to the doctor yet. And I showed up for this fucking sales call to get
purple fucking wrist.
And this, I'm not kidding. I show up, and Chad looks down, and my arm's all purple and shit. He goes, what happened? I said,
Kid Rock, bro.
Kid Rock concert.
I'm going
right here to urgent care after this. And so that's what sort of a concert I almost missed, but I toughed it out. Mark Borowick, the greatest concert you've ever seen with your eyes.
Foo Fighters. I think it was it was down here at Sandstone. I'm trying to remember the year. It was the late 90s, outdoors, early 2000. Yeah, when, Learn to Fly and all that. I kind of come out with that. It was at that time.
I saw them at whatever Sprint T-Mobile. I never saw them in the old days.
They were out there.
Tremendous live band.
They were. That was the best. That's been the best. I've seen Guns N' Roses not in their heyday, right? Type of thing.
I've seen them every time they've come to Kansas City.
Yeah, I love. It's not the same as it was early 90s, and stuff with them. But then, been a ton of country concerts and stuff. But I also saw Prince in 2004. At Kemper.
Yep.
He was at Kemper. Mm-hmm. Prince was there. And a bunch of the guys that I was playing with at the time, we all went down there. And that was awesome. Just because of, not necessarily a rock concert, but if you appreciate music and the musician that Prince was.
Unbelievable.
It was fucking phenomenal to watch him perform. And their stage was like in a round, too, and stuff. It was awesome.
He was the greatest musician and entertainer of his time. I saw him for the first time. I had 8th row tickets both nights to the Purple Rain tour. And my motherfucking heart was broken. And I bought a Purple Rain shirt. I looked like fucking, I was getting ready to sign the Constitution. I had this fucking shirt, and I did like a fucking
How'd it fit?
It fit.
Did it just hang
it
off
fit
you?
fine, but no,
Like
it was,
it did
but,
Prince?
Oh,
it was tight, wasn't
right.
it?
So I had all that shit because I loved it, and he canceled his Kansas City stops because he had some kind of fucking illness or whatever. I was heartbroken, so I didn't see him for the first time until Municipal Auditorium. It was great.
Never saw him.
But I saw him
Regret.
at the Midland when he did this weird kind of deal where it was kind of like I don't know, like a themed concert, but he did like just melodies of his hits.
Mm-hmm.
But it was basically he was having sex with the fucking crowd with his music. It was all like this weird love sexy kind of stuff. It was different, and some like hardcore Prince fans didn't like it because they wanted sing 1999, and he did a small melody, but the musicianship, and he played piano, and he did all these things. It was wonderful. So I'm glad you mentioned Prince.
That's one of my favorite concerts.
We could talk about this shit forever.
Well, that's right, and I will say we are going to have in a future episode coming up, maybe next week or in the upcoming weeks.
Slash is going to be on?
A former tour manager of Guns N' Roses, who I've become friends with,
questions for
to
him.
tell a lot of stories. And guess what? He ain't too fucking nice about Lars Ulrich. He said
a
Lars
lot of people
Ulrich's
don't
a
like
fucking
Lars
prick.
Ulrich.
How about that?
Could be.
You gonna fucking defend him, or you gonna listen to that man that knows?
I like the music.
Thank you very much.
I'm not going to defend Axl Rose either. I like the music.
Mark Borichter, when you come back, and you'll be on with Jake at some point, but can we do, because people have asked me for this, a request, would you be willing to, you don't have to tell everything, but would you be willing to do a Locker Room Stories podcast with Mark Borichter?
Yeah, I could do that.
Because you'd have to be involved with
None
that.
of the
and
names have changed.
We just want to, we got to dig in.
Yeah, we can get into some of that. Yeah, for sure.
Say some shit you haven't said on the air.
Yeah,
okay, because you're going to be a regular. You're on the roster now. So that's it for this episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. Thank you so much. And if you're going to see Jack White at a wonderful place, Starlight Theater, say hello, and I will be fucking happy as fuck. And so thank you to Mark Borichter, former Chiefs wide receiver. Thank you to Todd Lebo.
Fuck off.
And thank you, that's right, thank you for watching and listening to this episode. Succession is awesome. Jack White is awesome. You are awesome. And thank you to Patrick Carter, our man, with Farmers Insurance, for being a wonderful sponsor. Until next week's episode, fuck off, Kansas City.